This is the Commonwealth, where we interview leaders of disruptive change. We're collaborating with the music festival Lincoln Calling to feature the artists and entrepreneurs leading Nebraska's creative community. Lincoln Calling is taking place online on October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. On Saturday, October 3rd, the Lincoln, Nebraska-based hip-hop artist Hakim is taking the main stage to headline the festival. He is also our guest for today's episode. Along with running a barbershop, a recording label, and a fashion line, Hakim is one of the fastest growing hip-hop artists in the Midwest. We hope you enjoy our conversation. Hakim, thanks for joining me today.
For sure.
Yes.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Definitely.
So I first came in contact with your music. It was 4 years ago at a house party in the Bottoms before game day. And there were like 600 people in some backyard. Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One of my craziest shows to this day. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that.
It was crazy being a part of the crowd. And it's been cool watching your career ever since. So knowing that was 4 years ago, which seems like quite some time.
Definitely.
Yeah. When was that compared to like your first start in music?
As far as like performance wise?
Or even just like when did you first start making music?
I first started making, before the career path, Hakim, I always made music. Like it really started in 7th grade. 50 Cent was like, he's the one to blame for all this.
Yeah.
Like he got me into music, really.
Okay.
The music videos, just the enticing lifestyle, like that's really where it all started. And then I had a rap group called Z Unit. In the 6th grade, my first rap name was K Ice.
Okay.
So that's really where it all started. And from then, like music has just always been around. Like I just always wrote raps, like literally from then on, like, but it was always like overshadowed because I used to be a basketball player. So like basketball was like what my parents wanted. That's what, I seemed to want at the time. And that it was just basketball. It was basketball up until like a year or two after my senior year in high school.
Okay. So did you pursue basketball after high school?
I went to a preparatory school. So what I did was, as a senior, I went out before I graduated and reclassed as a senior to get better looks and a better advantage to get scholarships.
Okay.
So I did another pretty much senior year out in North Carolina to play basketball.
Okay.
Through my experience out there, long story short, I just hated it. It drove me to hate basketball.
Okay. What about it didn't you like?
I didn't like my teammates. Big part of being homesick, I tried to do this long distance relationship thing.
Okay.
And then really all that was just bubbling. And then what, to boil the pot over was I had a friend out there back home that died. Eddie Key, he died while I was out there. And then like that pretty much was like the snap of realization that how short life was, and realized that I was living life unhappy and not for myself. So I was like, you know what? That's it. Like, bro died. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could go tomorrow. And if I died in that period of how I was living life, whatever is in the afterlife, I would have looked down on myself and, like, regretted what I was doing. Like, I wasn't doing what I loved. Like, I knew music was it. So I was like, you know what? I'm chasing it. Forget it. Like, I'm gonna just go all out with it. So.
Yeah. So what was your first move after realizing that you were gonna pursue music?
My first move was, so again, I was still making videos, like rap videos here and there, like, and it's so funny looking back now that like how much I really loved like rap, and like how like I was just always doing it, putting out YouTube videos, like just like literally just recording myself and just, but I never ever thought that it was gonna be a career. It was just something like I just like being a rapper. Like it was just cool, you know what I'm saying? After he died, I believe it was either that same night or the night after, I just started writing like a tape, like my first Hakim tape, my first volume tape, Hakim.
Okay.
But I believe Eddie Key was the first song I wrote for that tape.
Okay.
Wrote that, and then I got into these I forget, these little there's these like little contest things that you can do on it's like a little pyramid scheme. It was some BS, but like so you can like vote for this week's rapper, whatever, and I would get into it. It was like some pay to play type stuff, but I didn't know. I was, you know what I'm saying? So I'd have people back home vote for me, and I ended up making it to like, one of the first little, whatever, first show. I kind of tripped up the stairs to the stage, right?
Where was that first show at? Here in Lincoln?
That was in North Carolina.
North Carolina?
Yeah, that was in North Carolina, my very first show ever. Aside from the talent shows that I used to do in like middle school and stuff. But, so I did that. My roommate when I was in North Carolina. He believed in me kind of at first before anybody did with this rap stuff. He was from Poland.
Wow.
So we was a team full of like, you know, very diverse team.
Yeah.
But he believed in me and he knew how much I wanted it. So like he paid, it must have been either like $250 or $500, like just out of his money to like get me there. Like,
wow.
And he paid that, and you know, my sister and I had a couple friends on my team. You know, we pulled up, I performed and everything. You know, I did my thing, and so as they announcing the winner to go to the next like region, they announced from like 4th place and up. They called 4th place, and wasn't my name. Cool, I killed it, so I was pretty confident.
Yeah.
3rd place, you know, not my name. So it was the emotions was getting higher and more anxious. Like, okay, 2nd place, not my name, and then, you know, it's like, then 1st place, not my name. So I'm like, and after seeing all the competition, I'm just like, how? Like, why? Like, how? Like, it was a very, like, I feel like I let my friend down because he had paid the money for me to get there. Mm-hmm. And then from there on, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good at, like, harvesting energy and, like, and my emotions. So, like, I feel like that's somewhere always in me, like how I lost that, like that competition, like that never sat well with me. The 1st place winner was this, you know, fat, you know, whatever girl. Like she was just like she was up there and literally just rapping about weed. Her whole rap was just about weed. Like you know, this big girl up there rapping about weed, and I'm like, how did I lose to that? You know, like my stuff had, you know, content and like, you know. Mm-hmm. But that always stays with me.
Yeah, it is inspiring that you took that negative, that negative moment and turned it into like the field for your career. Yeah,
always. I do that with everything.
Yes, yeah. How did what was the path then back to Nebraska where we're at now?
So that was a very pivotal moment of my life. That's pretty much when everything kind of set me off into this trajectory that I'm at now. So come back. And in my mind, I haven't told my parents that I'm done with the basketball. Because fortunate enough, I had a D1 scholarship offering full ride, a smaller D1 out in South Carolina.
Wow, okay.
Offered me a full ride scholarship to play basketball out there. So the fact that I had to go to another state, I was in North Carolina at the time, to go to South Carolina. Granted, my grandparents live in South Carolina, but to go there, restart again, be away from home again, like, and do it all. So I was just like, it's not happening. So long story short, I had to muster up courage when I got back to tell my parents that I was done playing basketball and then I wanted to pursue rap, be a rapper, right? So I came back, I was in my room. It was one of those nights, my parents were upstairs, you know, if you ever got to break some news to your parents, you really got to like wait for that right time, whether it's, you know, for some money or like, you know, you got to plan it out right. So they were both home. My dad was always working. So like he was home at the time. My mom was upstairs in the room. They were talking, had their door closed. So like it was even worse. So I had to knock on the door. Went up, knocked on the door. They kind of seen the like concern on my face, and they, you know, like my dad, he seen that, you know, something might have been up, and he kind of, you know, looked at me pretty serious, and he was like, you know, what's going on? And I was like, I'm done playing basketball. And my dad was like, what are you talking about? Because they had paid a lot of money for me to go to that preparatory school out in North Carolina. So, you know, they was like, you know, like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I'm done playing basketball. Like, I don't want to play no more. And you know, they was just very confused, like, you know, well, what's the plan? Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to rap. And the whole time that night, they were trying to convince me to do both. Like, you can still, you know, make music, and, you know, when you go travel and play your basketball games in different states, you can carry your CDs in your backpack, and after the game, sell your tapes. Yeah. And none of it just sound good to me. Like, it just, I had to, you know, plant my foot on this one, and I, you know, stuck with it. I just was like, no, I'm not doing it. And me and my dad's relationship really went south, like, just, and my parents were going through a divorce kind of at this time.
Okay, bad time.
So this was really like very just a strange time for me. Like, you know how they say, like, you know, some storms can really just brew, like, you know, a diamond, like, and I think it was just very confusing. Like, so I did that, and me and my dad's relationship was just not good, because literally all my life I played basketball, like, from, like, I'm talking like 1st grade. Like, basketball was supposed to be it, like, and I was really good at it, and it just, and, you know, my mom was kind of being supportive at the time. She was just like, you know, like, you know, think about it. You know, the mom is like, you know, the you know, the one that's gonna comfort you and, you know, whatnot. And so they was like, so the next step was like, okay, well, you're gonna have to move out then. They was gonna kick me out because I didn't want to play basketball. They was like, you got to go to some type of school. You're not just gonna sit around here and be a rapper. So I was like, man, I didn't know I was gonna do. So long story short, that's how the barbering came in, going to barber school. My dad's been a barber my whole life.
Okay.
So
Here in Lincoln?
Yep.
All right.
So that's how that came about. I was like, well, I'm always been artistic and good with my hands and stuff. Like, why don't I try out barbering? And even when I did that, my dad wasn't supportive. Like, he was just really like upset that I just didn't continue to play basketball.
Okay, interesting.
So
so then you went to barber school, and then did you open a barber shop once leaving school to support the music?
Nah, the road has been very rocky. Even through barber school, it didn't take my dad to really kind of support me until like I was close to graduating barber school. And so once I graduated, I started working at my dad's shop. Then our relationship was like, good again. Like,
okay.
It was cool. Like, he started to kind of somewhat understand the vision. He seen how serious I was with music. During school, I was a server at the Hilton Garden Inn downtown, and I was doing morning shifts and working overnight room service throughout whole school. So I'd go to school from 8 to 5, and my shift started at Hilton Garden. I had to prep. I started getting like tables prep like at 4, but they let me be an hour late. So literally, as soon as I got out of school, I had to rush over to the Hilton, put on my work clothes, my button up, white khakis, and I worked there from about 5 till 10:30, 11 at night, and then after that, I'd make music at night, and then when I worked the morning shifts at Hilton, it was 4 a.m. So I'd be up all night. Then some nights I wouldn't go to sleep, because there's nothing worse than sleep, deciding if you should go to sleep for an hour or 30 minutes and wake up and your head feeling like it's pounding, or just stay up all night.
Yeah.
So most of the times I just stay up all night and so it's like I barely
keep on grinding.
So when I first got my music equipment, my microphone, the computer and all that, I spent my first paycheck on all my equipment. Worked at Hilton. It must have been like $600, $600. I just blew it all on my recording equipment. Sat down with my recording equipment, took it home. It was a later night. Opened everything up, unboxed everything, kind of plugging stuff in. I ain't know none of this stuff. I literally cried that first night, bro. I cried because it was, like I said, it was just a confusing time. Like, my dad, backtrack. This was when my dad still wasn't supportive while I was in school. I just cried because I was just so frustrated. I didn't know, like, how to record myself. I just didn't know. I spent the whole paycheck, and it's just kind of one of those nights where it's just like overwhelming. Like, I figured it out. The next day, tutorials, YouTube, how to get the vocal track coming in. Once I started seeing a little signal come in, like mic check, I was like, okay, cool. Like, that was the biggest part. Figure that out, and then how do you mix and master your music, the reverb, compression, EQ, all that. Started learning all that. So day by day, I'm kind of picking things up. Some nights, like I said, my dad wasn't supportive. He would stomp on the floor, like, go to bed. He'd text my phone, like, because I'd be recording in the closet, and his room was right above mine. So he'd shut it off, shut it down, and I'd have to record quieter, like. So, and then through school. So after school, worked with my dad. Fast forward, everything was cool at the shop. My brother, my older brother, got involved. He was working at the shop. Me and him didn't really get along, for various reasons. Me and my dad worked alongside for like 3 years, and then the March of 2019 is when shit hit the fan, and I left my dad's shop the summer of 19 and did house calls. Pretty much went broke. Trying to support my family, doing house calls. I had other, barbershops or barbers. They called in to the barber board and said I was doing house cuts because it's technically illegal. So they was going to try to suspend my license. So, like, I was literally, I was in the midst of, like, trying to make music happen. I was just rocking a hard place. Like, I was like, man, I got to make an album and make this thing pop, like, because I really don't like cutting hair. Like, people ask me, like, you're so good at it, like, how did you know this was your passion? I'm like, bro, this ain't my passion. Like, I don't like cutting hair. I just had to do it because my parents told me I had to go to some type of school. Like, now I wasn't going to school. Like, they also wanted me to be a nurse, so like med school or something like that. So something in the medical field. So literally, like, that's how barbering came in my life. And honestly, I'm very grateful for it because it helped build all this. Like, it's still to this day kind of the fuel towards the dream. Like, a lot of the income has allowed me to be creatively free with music. So
yes, yeah. At what point or have you reached the point where your family, like, considers you a musician, or are you still working on that?
Definitely. I mean, how the situation left with March of 2019, like, I don't speak to neither one of my parents. I don't speak to I don't speak to like half of my family.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's a tough thing.
It's life, bro. It's honestly life. So I don't speak to them. They definitely do consider me as a an artist now. Like,
okay.
Growing and growing through the years. Like a little bit before I left my dad's shop, like I think he started to like grasp that like this was like going somewhere for me. Like he kind of knew that things were going somewhere. But it's where we at now.
Yeah.
I think they definitely understand my impact as an artist in a community and just the growing Hakim throughout the years, like
yes.
So they know where it's going.
How did you land on the name Hakim? Because I looked up online, and in Arabic, Hakim means either judge or wise. How did you land on that?
It's actually my middle name.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually my middle name. So, but it took me a while to figure out Hakim was gonna be my rap name.
Okay.
It was out in North Carolina when I figured out my rap name. I went from K-Ice to Khaleefa the Kid, and then I think I dropped Khaleefa to the Kid because Wiz Khalifa. People already used to call me Wiz Khalifa. And then from there, so it was Khaleefa the Kid, and I dropped the Khaleefa to the Kid. And then after that, I wanted Hakim because I studied J. Cole and Kendrick's name and Drake's name. And I was just like, it's either a 1-2 punch or just the Drake or like, Hakim or like, so I was like, you know what? Hakim, like, Hakim's the one. And then Hakim all caps, how that came about, put in all capital letters, was just because there was already some other Hakims out there that were like already musicians and stuff, and like Hakim is somewhat of a common name, so I was just like, I gotta go with the all caps. So I made it a staple to capitalize all my names. So the Hakim.
Have you always wanted to stay in Nebraska? Because the rap and hip hop community in Nebraska compared to other places in the country isn't quite as developed.
I always wanted to stay here, like always. Like being away from here never was in like the plans, or like never sounded good to me. Like I'm always like a prove you wrong type of person, so that's a big chip on my shoulders, like to really do it from here. And I will do it from here, and it's right around the corner. But that's always been a thing of mine, like if you can make it from Lincoln, Nebraska, like what I'm saying, like the impact that you gonna have, that I do have on the younger generations and a lot of people that look up to me or look at me for guidance and motivation and stuff, like to do that, to make it out of Lincoln, Nebraska as a rapper that I am, what I'm saying? It's a big statement, what I'm saying? How Nebraska is so conservative and the lack of culture that there is here. Like to do that, what I'm saying? I used to kind of lack the confidence of like, man, I don't really have the story. I didn't make it from the hood. Like I didn't sell drugs. I didn't, what I'm saying? My backstory, you know what I'm saying? But, maturing and, understanding myself, like, my story is amazing, and it's still the way I'm writing my story is like none other. It's very unique. Like nobody really, I wouldn't say nobody, but I will say nobody has a story like Hakim. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
My story is literally handcrafted. There's nothing like it. Like, and I can literally look at that and like it's gave me confidence to take it further and really put that stamp on the Corn Coast in Nebraska. Like I really want to brand Nebraska. Like that's just been so big for me.
Yeah, your story is unique and inspiring in its own way. So
definitely.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good to hear that you know that. Your like writing in your songs is very, I guess, like personal and shares like that inspiring message. So how do you, I guess, like seek inspiration for what to share in your music?
Life, literally just experiencing life. That's really what it all boils down to. Whatever I do in life like spills into the music. Whatever I experience emotionally, just my trials and tribulations through life, like it just all, like I said, I harvest that emotions and energy. Like I just harvest it all. Any bad thing that happens to me, like I take note. I gotta keep pushing, so I can't dwell on it. I can't sit in depression and oh man, woe is me. Like I gotta keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Because I know it's just gonna make better music. It just does. Like so, I try to experience life to the fullest degree that I can. Like I don't go out and try to make mistakes, but I try to just tap into new stuff that I didn't think would be possible or fathomable until I really understand something. And then once I do, it's like, wow, that was kind of easier than I thought. So then it's like, okay, so what's next? What's bigger on my list that I didn't think was kind of, you know what I'm saying? So I try to always just push past my limit that I thought I had currently, and then let's try something new. Like Because good or bad, it's always gonna make better music.
You also started your own label called Our Society. Was that just like the next progression on that list that you just mentioned?
Yeah, to be my own record label, like to be an independent artist at that, and then to have my own label, following in great steps of Jay-Z. Like, so that's when so November 4th, 2016 is when Our Society LLC became a label. So that was a big day for us. Like, me, Don, and Dejan at the time, we went and got our LLC. We got the logo trademarked and got the trade name for Our Society. And, it's just, it's like getting stuff like that on paper is just like, what I'm saying? That process is like, and then once you do it, it's like, okay, that wasn't so bad. Like, what I'm saying? Like, it's just overwhelming at first. And then once you go through the motions of getting a trade name and like, well, where do you go to get a trade name and trademark? And, you know what I'm saying? And then once it's done, it's like, okay, wow, that's like, so now we can have another business, Corn Coast Company, and now the Corn Coast Cuts, and like, what I'm saying, it's easy now. So what's next?
What are the next things on that list?
We've been keeping it under wraps for a little bit, but we're going to get ready to open up a CBD brand. So we're going to get ready, and we're looking like probably launch that first or second week of October. So by the time this is out, it won't really be under the wraps. But so yeah, we're gonna launch our CBD business.
And how's starting a CBD business in Nebraska? Because you mentioned earlier it's a very conservative state with.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's conservative state, but I mean most of my age group and stuff, they smoke weed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's conservative at the point, but at the same time it's not. It's just not. And CBD is more of a to pretty much market the same product but openly and legally. I think that's the beauty in it. To do something, to literally do something the next best thing of weed in a sense, and push that and market that is just like, I think it's genius. There's some CBD brands already doing it here in Lincoln, and I see their growth, and I see how well they're moving and how well it's doing for them. And I wouldn't stand behind a product I haven't tried and loved myself. So, using it for myself, I really like the, benefits and the stuff I see versus, actually smoking weed. So, being a conservative state, it's going to be interesting. I know a lot of my fans and my peers will be the people that initially buy the product and try it and, from that. But I think after that, where we plan to market it and push it to, the age groups and stuff, and I think who will open the idea to is going to be very interesting, especially with how weed is looked here. I seen the on the bill, medicinal marijuana just got
thrown out like a week ago,
which is insane to me because all the signatures that they worked hard for to get. I really hope it'll change a lot of conservative people's minds on CBD or weed alone, like because it's not flower the only thing you can smoke. It has medicinal properties for gummies or your dogs, your pets. You know what I'm saying? So I'm interested. It's a new business, and like I said, win or loss, it's going to be something to experience. It's going to be something to figure out. The business side of it and all that. So I'm very excited. I always need something new to do. Like I'm always, the growth is like has to be exponential. So I always, every year every 6 months something's got to change. We got to tap into something. We got to grow here. We got to. I'm saying we can't. You know what I'm saying? From opening this place in October of last year to now, it's just like wow. And then the year after that, it's going to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, the future's bright for all this stuff. So.
So within all of this, you do have a fashion line, which you touched on, a Corn Coast Co.
Yeah.
Was that just an extension of your artistry and creativity? How did that come to be?
So the clothing, initially, what got me into clothing, and clothing was kind of there too, but I never really paid attention. So when I was K-Ice back in 6th grade, I used to design my own shoes and shirts and shit. We used to draw on our own shoes. I had some white Reebok Classics. I used to draw on and use like this type of paint. So I used to kind of design my shoes since then, literally. So clothing designing has literally always been there. And then when I played basketball in high school, we had this little group called ATF, and I had a graphics design class in high school, and they allowed us to screen print in high school. And I made shirts it was like we had a crew neck, like we all had these like little sweaters like that we wore.
Okay.
And then shortly after, so when I was getting into barber school, I knew that I wouldn't be able to make music as much. So I needed something to keep my name out there. And that's what the clothing came in. So we started making clothes on the Our Society side. And then, so from there, I was moving clothes. And I was moving clothes well. A lot of people were buying clothes from me. That pretty much, I then was the, okay, since I know for sure I want to do this out of Nebraska, like I had to figure out how to make Nebraska cool. And like, you know, everybody, you know, the Nas representing BK, you know what I mean, Biggie, the Bed-Stuy, and then they all, you know, Compton. Like, you got to have a place where you repping, because you got to have you know, people are proud to rep something when something's like cool.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, Joey Badass was actually the one that inspired Corn Coast, because Joey Badass, I remember he used to say Beast Coast in his songs rather than East Coast, right? So I was like, man, I really like that. You know, long story short, you know, the corn, like, people always be like, oh, it's from the rap, all we got is corn here, you know what I'm saying? Like, so the Corn Coast. And then to build on top of that, the slogan was to make waves where there's no ocean. That's the Corn Coast Company slogan.
Okay.
And that really is like the ripple effect of all this, you know. We literally made something happen where there's a culture that's non-existent. So literally to make waves where there's no ocean. And then from there on, it was just like, I knew once Corn Coast was like, I came up with that, it was just like, that's it. Like, that's literally it. People are going to love this, like Corn Coast. And then now forever, we just build on top of the letters, the C's. A lot of stuff revolves around C's. So Corn Coast cuts. And so we try to build everything off the moniker of the C's, like the Corn Coast. So everything usually kind of revolves, as far as a lot of the business stuff, without making it too corny. So yeah, so our CBD brand, Coastal Clarity, so that revolves around the double C's.
Okay.
So, yeah, we try to carry that. A lot of people peep it, some people don't, but I like it. You know, it all works though. It's so perfect. The Corn Coast is really, it's gold. People love when they hear Corn Coast, like it's just like Corn Coast, like, oh, I get it, like it's witty, I like it. Like, I love to see when it clicks for older people, like Corn Coast, like oh, like I get it. Like, I love that when that light bulb clicks for them. So,
yeah. So last question for you, Hakeem. If you would, if you could go back and give Hakeem the basketball player a piece of advice, what would you tell him?
To always listen to myself, like to just listen to myself, like follow my inner guide, I guess. I guess I just actually seen something like that a couple days ago. It was just like, if you could go back and tell yourself like 3 words, like, and I was like, you know, it's like a meme, you know, sometimes, you know, I literally, I don't know, that one just kind of hit me. It kind of hit. I was like, I was literally thinking, I was like, what would I tell myself in 3 words, you know, 3 words only? So, yeah, follow my guide, I guess would be my like 3 words. Like, everybody has that like inner, like, you know, intuition, like that, you know, just like gut feeling, like, and I mean, and I did. I honestly did. Like, I could have gave in when my parents was like, you know, you can do the basketball and the rap, you know, travel, and, you know, I could have listened to them, and I could have just getting done playing basketball. I could have been playing overseas right now. No, yeah, I'm glad I followed that like inner God. I'm glad I stood to my parents and just lived life like, you know, how I wanted to live, and now I'm living exactly how I want to live. Like, nobody can tell me any, like, I've built my dream. I've built my reality. Like, I built my reality. I built what I want to, I built a world that I want to live in. Like, I did it. Like, you know, I wake up and live in a world that I've built for myself. So that's, I guess, what I would tell myself.
I'm looking forward to seeing how your career develops from here. And Hakeem is performing at Lincoln Calling, which takes place this weekend, the first few days of October. Go to lincolncalling.com to get more information. The Commonwealth is edited by Kyle Kua, directed by Alec McChesney, and produced in partnership with KZUM Radio. Special thanks to Emmy Hernandez and Isabel Cheeseman for creative guidance. That is it for this week's episode. Thank you for being a member of the Commonwealth. If you enjoyed this conversation, please tap the share button and send it out to your friends and family. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. If you want to hear more conversations just like this one, go check out our podcast library. We've been making this show for about a year and have interviewed disruptive leaders from around the world. You can also tap subscribe or follow to stay updated when new episodes drop.